Deputy Mick Wallace, please.
Gancola. Tánaiste, the cost of the Children's Hospital is out of control. I laid out last night what I see as the roots of the problem. Can you tell me, Tánaiste, how many variations there have been since this contract was awarded? What is the value of the different variations? And how many more variations might you be expecting? The procurement process should have delivered the correct form of contract, but it didn't happen. You've used a fixed price contract, and for this you have to have a well-defined scope of works, or the claims will come. We don't have a well-defined scope of work because it's almost impossible, as I said last night, with a complex engineering project like a hospital. So the claims are coming, and Tánaiste, we're only starting. We needed a bespoke civil engineering remeasurement contract, but we didn't get it. A situation where, as I said last night also, the contractor does the work, you measure it and you pay accordingly, and let the QSs sort out the differences. The contractor's main ambition, he looks at what avenues he has to make extra money. Now, I see the Taoiseach passed a comment about this lowballing of contracts. He's a little bit on the naive side with his comment. And I would argue that right now, for BAM, it's like picking apples in an orchard, and it's a big problem for you. The legal firm are the advisors of how you procure and amend the tender documents, and they have a duty to alarm their clients of the consequences of using standard documents like as we have in the Capital Works Management Framework, because they can only facilitate a fixed price contract, and they don't suit a job like this. And it gives unbelievable potential to the contractor to get extra money as it goes. These are the legal firm, they're construction specialists. It's not true that they don't know. They should know. It's part of their job. And they didn't have to rely on the Capital Works Management Framework, which the Department of Finance gives them, right? They had other ways, they had other options. Tánaiste, I would be seriously concerned with their performance, and I actually think that their professional indemnity should be considered. This isn't good enough, and it's going to cost you too much money. And at this stage, in the contract, you do have the potential for termination, and it's termination at will, and it excludes loss of profits.
Thank you,
There's a cost. The cost of calling a halt is in the contract. We have not reached the point of no return, Tánaiste. We're really only starting, and the extra cost that you're looking at now will be far exceeded in time if you continue along this road. I think you need to stop and re-tender.
Tánaiste. Deputy, the first thing I want to say is just that I do want to note your very constructive engagement on this issue in this House, and the obvious experience you have from the construction industry, which makes for a very helpful contribution here. But what I would say is that there is a process underway now to fully evaluate what happened here. There were mistakes made. There was a gross underestimate of what the cost of building this hospital would be, and when that estimate was corrected, there was a dramatic change in the overall predicted and estimated cost of delivering this hospital. When we got clarity on what that figure was, the Minister brought a series of recommendations to government to make a decision as to how to proceed. I think he made the right decision to do that. What you're focusing on, understandably, is how we got there. How do we learn lessons from that? How do we change systems in the future? whether it's in terms of project management or tendering processes for big projects like this. I think you have a government that is listening here to ensure that we learn lessons from the mistakes that were made here. We have asked an independent firm, PwC, of course they have expertise, Matty. So what I would respectfully suggest is that we have limited expertise in this House as politicians to make the right judgment calls in relation to this. Our job as legislators and policymakers is to put structures and systems in place that ensure that underestimates like this don't happen again in the future. And I think by and large, when you look at many of the other big projects that have been delivered, our systems have worked. If you look at the N17, the N18, Gortulme, if you look at the N11, N7, the North Docklands sewage system, Phoenix Park Tunnel, and I can go on and on and on. Lots of projects on time, within budget, and that is because the systems have improved significantly from 7 or 8 or 10 years ago when many projects were over budget. Something has gone wrong here in relation to the estimate process, or the estimation, I should say, of cost of the Children's Hospital. We intend on getting to the bottom of that and learning lessons from it and changing systems where necessary in response to that to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. And of course we will take on board the constructive criticism and concerns and suggestions that come in this House. I don't think it's helpful, by the way, to start naming individual firms in this House and to start apportioning blame before we have a full, clear picture of what happened.
All right,
and I'm certainly not going to get into that space.
Deputy Wallace.
Tánaiste, you're talking about learning lessons for the future. Well, I'd like you to learn them for the present, because I would argue that if you stop now, which you're allowed to do, it's in the terms of the contract, I suggest that you could save yourselves in the region of £500 million if you re-tender it and go for a remeasurable contract, rather than stick with a fixed price contract which is going to cost you a lot more than £1.7 billion. I've already said that I don't expect it to stop at £2.2 billion. And just on the point of value for money, Tánaiste, which I know is a concern for government, I was checking out your own public spending code, and there's 2 of the early parts in it. It says, are you doing the right thing? That is, spending money to achieve the right objectives. And I would say yes, because you're looking to provide a hospital that is required. And the second is doing it right. That is, spending money as efficiently as possible, avoiding waste. I would say no, you are not doing it right. And I would say that rather, yes, we'll learn lessons for the future, but let's learn them for now and save yourselves a lot of money by stopping this project now, going for a re-tender. And Tánaiste, I'm not interested in looking for heads either, but I would ask you to look at the legal process and the conflict of interest between the board and the legal firm involved.
Thank you,
and I would look at the performance of the legal firm, because they are crucial to what we ended up with.
Yeah, and we have undertaken a process now that will examine those issues, and we'll come back with a report to government which we'll publish. And we can have a debate in this House on the back of that in terms of the actions that we should take on the back of that. But I mean, we have 2 challenges here. First of all, we've got to get a children's hospital built. The current health infrastructure for children in Ireland is not good enough. And most parents in this House will know that if you've been with your child for specialist paediatric care and so on. We need to improve that infrastructure, and we are going to build one of the most advanced children's hospitals in the world. And we're committed to doing that, and there have been numerous false dawns in relation to trying to get this done. That's the first thing. Secondly, we have to do that and ensure that we get value for money. And recognise that a significant mistake was made in this process when costs and quantities were being estimated. Those mistakes have been corrected, and we now have a more expensive project But nobody is suggesting that I'm aware of, in terms of the advice to government, that by retendering here, Deputy, we would get this done for less money.
Thank you.
And so I think it's important not to make suggestions here without backing that up. My understanding, my understanding, Deputy, is that the advice to government is that retendering this project at this stage to deliver the same project would not result in a significant saving of money.
Deputy Roisin Shortall, please.